demonstrated this commitment? How have they created social conditions in Tobago that enable the free and equal practice of political self-determination? How could they have created these conditions when 300,000 Tobagonians reside in Trinidad? The population of Tobago is consistent at 50,000. It's not because the island could only hold 50,000, Mr. President. It's because the PNM-THA have created no opportunity to stay at home and prosper.
Yes.
300 Tobagonians in Trinidad.
300.
Trinidad decided that they could hold a family day.
Minister of Justice.
I will write.
The speaking time of the Honourable Minister of Justice has expired.
Mr. President, I beg to move that the speaking time of the distinguished Minister of Justice be extended by a further 15 minutes.
Honourable Senators, the question is that the speaking time of the Minister of Justice be extended by a further 15 minutes. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Mr. President. And it is because 300,000 Tobagonians reside in Trinidad that the Trinidad PNM decided that they could hold a Tobago Family Day in Trinidad. Height of contempt.
Yes.
Height of contempt. For years, Mr. President, we had to come here to get a birth certificate. We had to come here to register a deed. We had to come here to go to school. Now we had to come here to get cold food and hot beds. Height of contempt. You want Tobagonians to come to a PNM Family Day, but you hold it in Port of Spain? So high do you hold us in your regard. And Tobago people are not blind. They are not blind. Not all of them have been embraced by the smallpox blanket.
Yes.
Not all of them have taken the smallpox blanket home. We are alive to these ruses, and that is why, Mr. President, the hot bears and cold food fiesta bus. Because Tobagonians are not of that. They're not of that. Contemptuous. Mr. President, how have they created social conditions? How has the PNM-THA created social conditions in Tobago that enable the free and equal practice of political self-determination? When the PNM-THA insisted that Tobago was too small to support a university campus.
Yes.
Too small. Our people saying we're too small to support a university campus.
Some of right people on Tobago.
What was the build out of that? That ensured that Tobago will always have a pattern of educational migration.
Yes.
It will remain a part of our landscape, breaking up families. And, you know, Mr. President, I know of which I speak. I am in Trinidad. My parents are in Tobago. One brother is in the United Kingdom. One sister is in San Fernando because of the necessity for educational migration.
Yes.
The Tobago family is a steady, stable unit. But because of this matter that clearly was part of a larger PNM-THA plan,
Yes.
the family is now split,
That's so sad.
destroying families, simultaneously denying Tobago the opportunity to grow by virtue of educational tourism. How could you be so short-sighted? How could you be so short-sighted? There are towns that are smaller than Tobago that support campuses. In fact, the campuses support the towns. So again, I remind this Honorable House that we were brought here to talk about democracy.
Yes.
We were brought here to talk about democracy.
He invited us, huh?
And the mover of the motion has fled. Has the PNM-THA created or enabled cultural conditions in Tobago that support democratic principles that are consistent with nation building, that are consistent with the aspirations found in our national anthem, which decrees that every creed and race find an equal place? Have the Tobago PNM committed to those ideals? Well, I would suggest that the evidence demonstrates to the contrary. It was the PNM-THA, of course, that refused to release funding to particular cultural and religious groups, a matter that was only revealed by various applications under the Freedom of Information Act. It is the PNM-THA that have been insulting to you vote for the Tobago Organization of the People, Indians will take your land. Shameful. I want to say that this assertion is and it is degrading to the person to whom it is uttered. It speaks to the marriage of the THA PNM to the continuation of a racial divide at all costs. It is repulsive. It is repugnant to the democratic principles espoused in a global village. And the success of that message, that odious, infamous message, is premised on the assumed idiocy of the listener. Be brighter than that. A most recent matter pointing to the PNM-THA's polarity from a comprehension of democracy occurred as recently as a few days ago, when the Chief Secretary of the PNM-THA told a disappointed audience of the persons that the PNM-THA has. He told them that he would not forgive any person who didn't vote for the PNM. No, the magnitude of this statement ought not to be lost on us, Mr. President. The first matter I want to discuss in that statement is that it would appear that the authority for forgiveness resides in the Chief Secretary. The Chief Secretary is God in Tobago. That is what he's saying. That is what he's saying. The second matter is that here you have a public official telling citizenry, implying quite clearly that there will be consequences if their vote is not in a particular direction. That, more than anything, is a public undermining of democracy. Mr. Speaker, can you imagine the premier, the president, the prime minister of any first world nation getting up on a political platform and telling supporters if they didn't vote for his party, he wouldn't forgive them, but that would be the last public speech he made. The last one. And that should have been the last public speech that the chief secretary made. We ought to make sure that he never speaks in public again.
That is contempt.
Shows a lack of understanding of the principles of democracy. As a matter of law, the THA has exclusive powers and responsibilities under the THA Act relative to certain matters in Schedule 5. So that a commitment to democracy would mean that these responsibilities were faithfully undertaken with at least reasonable diligence. So that if we examine these responsibilities, there ought to be, by virtue of a discharge of the responsibilities, a clear demonstration that the PNM-THA are committed to democracy. I will only deal with a few of them. Where am I for time? Tourism. Tourism is a Schedule 5 matter. The tourism product remains severely underdeveloped, as the PNM-THA cannot implement so the tourists wouldn't get road barriers, sensible craft fairs, or sustainable markets towards driving the tourism product. So a fail on tourism. Schedule 5. Having publicly not supported the construction of a university campus on the island, judging by the plethora of teachers on contract in Tobago, the PNM-THA has failed to even reasonably discharge responsibility. But more poignant and more painful is refusal to allow for the construction of a school for special needs children. Who does that? Who does that? A measure of a society is how we treat our helpless. Health services, another matter under Schedule 5. Well, if this matter weren't so serious, it really would be hilarious. With a mortality rate well above international and regional norms, an entire island is waiting and literally dying for a hospital. The PNM-THA has failed to even reasonably discharge this responsibility. Before I conclude, operates a little differently. And building. Tobago does not need a house built. Tobago needs access. We could build our own houses. Why then is the PNM-THA in absolute apparent ignorance to our culture of house building, providing small boxes for Tobagonians to live in?
True.
And why are those boxes defective? Steps not properly adhered to the building.
Yes.
So the step one way, the building one way. Ridiculous. Giving out these boxes to people of the same family. So in one particular development, I'm reliably informed, one family, 5 members, 5 houses. What is that?
5 boxes.
No delivery on a sustainable basis. no production of a product that is fit for purpose, that is fit for community, that is fit for the society in which it is provided. Another fail, another fail. Now, I am reminded that is my friend who brought us here. And so I want to say that we must not forget that it is the PNM who imprisoned one woman using emergency